Without knowing anything about this photo, the casual observer would probably pick up on the following in a studium viewing that Barthes talks about. The men are situated around the women, establishing the protective role of men in this particular picture. The next layer in is the women, with the exception of one, which I will explain later. The women are in turn protecting the innermost group, the children. Additionally, the photo establishes a generational hierarchy. The oldest generation is at the top of the photo, like the top of a family tree. The next generation lines the floor, underneath the oldest generation. The youngest generation, while somewhat scattered throughout the photo, needing the help of the older generations to position themselves for the picture, are all fairly centered and do not cross the lines of the older generation, keeping the lowest profiles in the picture. However, after this initial analysis, further dissection of the photo requires a bit more inside knowledge, which is where I come in. I am about as literal a participant observer as one could get. I know the people in the picture, their dynamics, and recognize how far this picture is from the way those people and dynamics are today, because this is my family circa 1991. I was about 2 at the time, but I do have a hazy memory of this particular photo session. The punctum of the photo for me comes rather immediately, as I feel like I am no longer the same participant I once was. The family of this photo looks nothing like its current incarnation, which causes me a sort of temporal displacement. I was once a participant in that family, and still am a participant in that family, but it's not the same family. Attempting to analyze the picture forces me to put myself back in 1991 and try and recall my participation in that family at that time. The picture was taken at Thanksgiving, something that is not indicated anywhere in the photo. While my family would get together several times a year, Thanksgiving represents one of the few times when we would actually take pictures. As an Orthodox Jewish family, we would gather for almost all the holidays. However, the biggest holidays were also the ones where photography was forbidden, as use of electronics is prohibited on many holidays. Thus, while my extended family might have spent entire weekends at my grandparents' house, dressed up in our best for services, there are no photographs of what would have been prime family photo material. Looking at the layout of the people in the picture, beyond the initial observations at the start, there is another dimension that becomes apparent upon considering the relationships pictured. All the couples are seated together, with mothers next to their daughters and granddaughters. This is even the case among the oldest generations in the picture, as my great-grandmother is sitting next to her daughter, my grandmother. Incidentally, my great-grandmother is not in the middle, but she has been pushed to the side. In this young family, her daughter is the reigning matriarch in a 3-generation spread that most American families are used to today, and therefore my grandmother gets to be front and center. The adults are all able to focus on the camera, but the kids, all under the age of 5 at the time, cannot. At this point, we had limited exposure to the family gaze style photography. We were used to having our every move chronicled in candid snapshot. Thus, the art of the family gaze had not yet been ingrained in our young selves, and sitting still for repeats of this picture was not our top priority. Looking at the individuals in the picture, there are a few people who seem out of place, beyond my great-grandmother. On the far right, my uncle is almost hanging off the side of the picture, as he had been the one running into the frame from setting the camera timer. However, he is the only one in the picture who did not have kids, and therefore was essentially the most expendable. This is confirmed by his just barely there presence in the picture, and his role as the runner. He must still be included in the family photo, but having yet to contribute to the continuity of the lineage, he is not yet able to gain a more stable position in the frame. I am also out of place. While I may be sitting next to my mother, I am the only one besides my infant cousin who is sitting on someone else's lap. I seem unhappy, though I couldn't say why, so perhaps sitting on my cousin's lap was comforting, as I worshipped the ground she walked on. Additionally, the picture shows the beginnings of instilling the mother role in my oldest cousin. She is emulating her mother, who is in the same pose with her infant sister. I am also the only one holding toys. Apparently, I refuse to separate from my playthings, unaware of the role I was supposed to be playing in this picture. My toys are intruders in this picture, keeping my hands from sitting nicely in my lap. The picture is a classic case of performed family frozen in time. The oldest generations in this picture, my great-grandmother and maternal grandparents, have long since passed away. The couple on the right, my parents, have since divorced, and my uncle, the man on the right, has since married. There are also 2 more children to come. Taking the photo itself was an interesting exercise. There are at least 3 versions of this picture, taken in the days of 35mm film cameras, when the preview of digital camera was not available. Thus, they vary in flash and facial expression, as my family sought to perform the ideal family. Thus, we sat there for an extended period of time, probably complaining between takes, something unknowable when looking at this photo in a vacuum. It seems almost a throwback to a time when people sat for half an hour to produce a single photo, though we got many more photos out of our extended sitting session. While my uncle was the one to set the timer on the camera, the machine, a phantom photographer of sorts, took the picture. We are looking at no one, smiling for our future selves, for the posterity of this happy young family that existed for a few minutes on that Thanksgiving Day.